أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Lesson number 208, Surah Ar-Rum. أَوَلَمْ يَتَفَكَّرُوا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ. Do they not contemplate within themselves? Do they not reflect within themselves? In the previous ayah, what is mentioned? That the majority of the people, their knowledge is limited to the zahir aspect of this dunya only. They don't know about the purpose of this dunya, the purpose of this life. They don't know about its beginning, and they're not at all concerned about its end. They don't know where they're headed to. They don't know what's going to happen to them after they die, which is why they're completely immersed in this dunya. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala questions over here that why do they not understand? Why do they only get stuck at the zahir aspect of this dunya? أَوَلَمْ يَتَفَكَّرُوا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ. Have they not reflected within themselves? Do they not contemplate on their own bodies? أَوَلَمْ. Apparently, this is a question. أَوَلَمْ يَتَفَكَّرُوا. But it is for the purpose of tawbih, for the purpose of reproach and reprimand. That why do they not reflect on their own bodies? It could have been said tafakkaru, reflect. But what has been said, أَوَلَمْ يَتَفَكَّرُوا, because this is more strong. Do they not reflect? Have they not reflected so that they can emerge out of their heedlessness? فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ, in themselves. أنفسهم, plural of nafs. Meaning, have they not reflected on their own bodies, their own creation, their own hands, their own face, their own feet? That if you look at it, your hand, it has a purpose. Your feet, they have a purpose. Every single part of your body has a purpose. It has a function. Nothing at all is in vain. Nothing at all. If you think about it, the eyelashes even, they serve a purpose. Isn't it? The lips, they serve a purpose. You might think, oh, what's the purpose of this part of the body? But every single one is there for a reason. And if you look at it, your body is that which is closest to you. So start from yourself. Think about it. Every part of your body has a reason behind it. So you as a whole, you have no purpose, you have no function. You've just been created to learn about that knowledge and learn about that field and become an expert of that field and analyze critically and make money. That's it? That cannot be your purpose. أَوَلَمْ يَتَفَكَّرُوا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ مَا خَلَقَ اللَّهُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ. Allah has not created the heavens and the earth, وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا, and whatever that is between them too, إِلَّا بِالْحَقِّ, except with the truth, except with a just cause, for a just reason. Everything that is in the heavens, everything that is in the earth, and everything that is between the two. So when something is up in the sky that we don't know of, something is inside the earth that we don't know of, and those things that are in between, like for example the birds that fly in the air, the clouds that are suspended in the air, and also the people who walk on the surface of the earth, and many other creatures that are on the surface of the earth. Every single creature, what do we learn? What's the message? That مَا خَلَقَ اللَّهُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا إِلَّا بِالْحَقِّ. Everything has a reason. Everything has been made for a just cause. Everything has been made as it should be made. Bilhaq. Bilhaq has several meanings over here. Of them is for a just cause, for a just reason, for a purpose. And of them is also that as they should be. وَأَجَلٍ مُسَمَّى, and a fixed time. Meaning everything has been created for a fixed period of time. The time period of every creature is muqaddar, is decreed from before, about its beginning and its ending. When it will come alive and when it will perish. And we see this. No tree is eternal. No rock is eternal. What happens to rocks even? They break down, they turn into sand, they turn into tiny, tiny pebbles. So أَجَلٍ مُسَمَّى. وَإِنَّ كَثِيرًا, and indeed many, مِنَ النَّاسِ, from the people, بِلِقَاءِ رَبِّهِمْ لَكَافِرُونَ, with the meeting of the Lord, they are surely disbelievers. They don't believe in that meeting. They don't believe in life after death. Which is why they don't understand the purpose of their lives. Over here, what do we see? that people are being encouraged to use their mind. They're being encouraged to contemplate, reflect, think. This intellect that Allah has given you, use it, put it to some use. And don't just put this intellect to use to learn about the zahir aspect of this dunya, that you're just learning about the stocks and about how to put eyeliner and how to put that lipstick and how to wear these clothes. No. Use this mind to reflect on the purpose of your life as well. If you look at your body, didn't it come from somewhere? Isn't it constantly changing and heading towards a conclusion? Heading towards an end? Isn't it so? Always people think, when they look at their hands, they say, oh, my hands have changed. I remember when my hands were like that. And now all of a sudden, my cuticles, they're like this. My nails are like this. My skin has become different. You see your body changing. You remember your little hands when you were a little kid? You remember them, slightly perhaps. And as you grow older, how they change. And how one day it will finish. So when you look at your body, when you eat food, it becomes a part of your body, how it turns into energy and how that energy is distributed throughout your body. This is something amazing. And what does this reflection lead us to? That if your hand has a purpose, if it's changing constantly, then your life also has a purpose. It's impossible that Allah has created you aimlessly. It's not possible. Now if you think about it, for this kind of tafakkur, for this kind of contemplation, what do you need? Knowledge. If you want to reflect on your own body, if you want to reflect on the trees, on the stars, on the birds, on the animals, what do you need? Knowledge. What kind of knowledge? What kind of knowledge do you need? Worldly knowledge. If you want to reflect on rocks, and if you want to have like a good reflection, if you really want to ponder on them really well and take a lesson from them, do you just need to observe a rock? No, you need to study rocks as well. Isn't it? So what do you need for that? Worldly knowledge. So what does this show to us? That worldly knowledge is not something that is useless. It's not something that is useless, because some people, when they read the ayah, يَعْلَمُونَ ظَاهِرٌ مِنَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَهُمْ عَنِ الْآخِرَةِ هُمْ غَافِلُونَ, they think, oh, the knowledge of this dunya, useless, no point, no benefit, forget about it, don't study it. No, there is benefit behind it. And when is there benefit behind that knowledge? When it takes a person closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When it adds to his yaqeen, when it adds to his iman, not in his kibr. For example, if you go to university, if you go to school, and whatever you study is meaningful, it's purposeful, that when you study it, it improves your understanding, it enhances your skills, and as a result, you're a better person, you're a productive person, you can bring benefit to yourself, you can bring benefit to others, and ultimately it increases your gratitude before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then this kind of knowledge is beneficial. But if a person is learning something which is not beneficial for them, neither for their deen nor their dunyas, because sometimes people study something just for the sake of studying it, just to say that they have studied, something, just to say that they have a particular degree, and what does it give to them? Only arrogance. This kind of knowledge is useless. Which worldly knowledge is beneficial? Which brings a person closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Which gives him the ability to do tafakkur, and to learn all of these lessons that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us. And according to need, a person may gain worldly knowledge, meaning whatever he needs to learn, he should learn about it. Because only when you have worldly knowledge will you be able to benefit people as well. I mentioned to you once that my grandfather, the reason why he studied medicine was why? To benefit people. Because he learned the Quran, he was teaching children, and he was teaching them, and one day, all of a sudden, this one child, he got pneumonia, and the next morning he passed away. And he felt, I have so much knowledge, but I was not even able to help this boy. I'm teaching him how to study the Quran, but I have no idea as to how to help him physically. You understand? So that, drove him to learn medicine. And then alhamdulillah, he wasn't just teaching deen to people, but at the same time, he was also helping people with regards to their physical bodies as well. So this kind of knowledge is something that is extremely beneficial, because it helps a person come closer to Allah, and it also helps a person help other people. Now what do we see over here? That do they not reflect that everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created, He has created it for a reason, and He has created it exactly as it was supposed to be, as it should be, with regards to its color, its size, its properties, its weight, its characteristics, so on and so forth. The sun has a purpose, the stars have a purpose, the moon has a purpose, the plants have a purpose, everything, and man also has a purpose. In Surah Al-Mu'minun, ayah 115, we learn, أَفَحَسِبْتُمْ أَنَّمَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ عَبَثًا وَأَنَّكُمْ إِلَيْنَا لَا تُرْجَعُونَ. Then did you think that we created you uselessly, and that to us you would never be returned? This is what you thought? You thought wrong. In Surah Al-Dukhan, ayah number 38 to 39, we learn, وَمَا خَلَقْنَا السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا لَاعِبِينَ مَا خَلَقْنَاهُمَا إِلَّا بِالْحَقِّ وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَهُمْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. That we did not create the heavens and the earth and that which is between them in play. We did not create them except in truth, but most of the people do not know. And what is a sign of the intelligent people? Ulul albab. That يَتَفَكَّرُونَ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. And what do they say? رَبَّنَا مَا خَلَقْتَ هَذَا بَاطِلًا. That, O our Lord, you have not created all of this in vain. أَوَلَمْ يَسِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ. Then have they not traveled in the earth? In the previous ayah, what was said? أَوَلَمْ يَتَفَكَّرُوا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ. And now, أَوَلَمْ يَسِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ. Have they not traveled about in the earth? Do they not travel in the earth? Meaning they should. And when they travel, when they go about, they should reflect and they should learn about this. What? That فَيَنْظُرُوا, that they should look, كَيْفَ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. That how was the end of those people who came before them. يَسِيرُوا, from sayr. Have they not traveled? فِي الْأَرْضِ. And which land does it refer to? Which earth does it refer to? In particular, this land refers to that land where the punishment of Allah descended on the previous people. Because what is mentioned after that? فَيَنْظُرُوا كَيْفَ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. They should look at the consequence of those people who came before them. So this land refers to those lands where Allah's punishment descended on the people. Now when the Prophet ﷺ, when he passed by such lands, such as the ruins of Samud, how did he pass by this land? Did he take it as a picnic? No. He passed by very seriously. And he told the companions to pass quickly. Do not stay there and hang around over there. No, he told them to pass quickly. And to not remain there, but to cry. He said, when you pass by such places, pass by how? Crying. And if you cannot cry, then don't go there. If you cannot cry, then don't go there. Because otherwise what's going to happen? The punishment that descended on the previous people can also descend on you. So when we go to such places, when we pass by such lands, how should we do so? In the state that the Prophet ﷺ commanded us to. But what is our behavior? We go to such places as a picnic, as an outing. We go, we take pictures with the monuments, with the remnants, and we have some fun, we pass some jokes, and then we come home. This is why we don't learn anything. This is why our actions, our behavior do not change. This is why when we pass by them, we don't feel anything. And when we come home, it's as though we never saw anything. Because it does not have any impact on our hearts. Because we consider that trip to be what? A picnic. An enjoyment. What does Allah say over here? أَوَلَمْ يَسِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ. أَوَلَمْ. Again, this questioning style is for the purpose of rebuke. It's for the purpose of reproach. That get serious. Have you not traveled throughout the earth? Have you not gone to such places? فَيَنْظُرُوا. Then they should look. كَيْفَ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. What? How was the end of those people before them? Look at what happened to them. Look at how they were, and look at how they were completely finished. كَيْفَ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. And why did they meet this end? Why? Because they only knew the zahir of this dunya. They never contemplated on the akhirah. They never took their akhirah seriously. If you look at it, the previous people whom we have studied about in the Quran, what do we learn about them? They only knew the zahir. Which is why they built great monuments, great structures. Such structures, such buildings that they never lived in. But they built them, why? Just for the purpose of show. What does it show? What does it reflect? Zahir ilm. No purpose. No purpose in life. Similarly, if you look at the people of Madian, what happened to them? They were cheating one another. For what purpose? Worldly purpose, worldly benefit. Zahir ilm. That a person is so clever, he knows how to cheat the other. Cheating is not something easy, especially when it comes to business. You know that? It's not something easy. You have to be extremely clever, extremely intelligent to be able to do that. Which is why only it's the extremely smart people who excel when it comes to business. Right? This is what they say, that a simple person, he cannot excel at this. Because many times people get by how? By cheating one another. Like for example, when it comes to taxes. Can any person come and calculate their taxes less and claim more from the government? Can they do that? No. Who do they go to? The experts. Right? So, they knew a lot about this dunya. But they were completely negligent of the akhirah. Which is why they did not take the teachings of the messengers seriously. But look at their end. كَيْفَ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. How was the end of those people? They were finished. None of them remains till today. Their houses may stand, but they're empty. No one lives there. No one can live there. كانوا, they were, meaning the people who were destroyed, they were أَشَدَّ مِنْهُمْ قُوَّةً. They were more intense than them in strength. Than who? Minhum. Who does them refer to? The people who are being addressed in this ayah. That أَوَلَمْ يَسِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ. Primarily the Makkans, and after them, everyone else. That the previous people, they were stronger than you in strength. أَشَدَّ مِنْهُمْ قُوَّةً. As if to say, what are you proud of? You're proud of your great buildings? You're proud of your health systems? You're proud of your great inventions? The people of the past were more stronger than you. And how were they stronger? We learn about the people of Ad. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about them, الَّتِي لَمْ يُخْلَقْ مِثْلُهَا فِي الْبِلَادِ. The likes of which have never been created in the cities. They were so mighty, so strong in their physical power that no people have ever been like them. The might, the strength that they possessed in their physical bodies, no person has ever possessed them after them. And what did they do? إِرَمَ ذَاتِ الْعِمَادِ. They built pillars. They built such great structures with pillars, huge pillars. And the people of Thamud, what do we learn about them? الَّذِينَ جَابُوا الصَّخْرَ بِالْوَادِ. Those people who carved out the rocks in the valleys. Why? In order to make their homes. They carved out their houses in rocky mountains. And they constructed lofty palaces. وَكَانُوا يَنْحِتُونَ مِنَ الْجِبَالِ بُيُوتًا. And they used to carve out the mountains into their houses. So كَانُوا أَشَدَّ مِنْهُمْ قُوَّةً. This is how strong they were. وَأَثَارُوا الْأَرْضَ. And they plowed the earth. They tilled the earth. أَثَارُوا from the root letters. Hamza, Sa, Ra. Hamza, Sa, Ra. Ithara literally means to give haraka. What does haraka mean? Movement. So it literally means to move something, to stir something. And it is to stir something up in such a way that dust rises from it. So it would be to, like for example, plowing the land, tilling the land. Because as that is done, the land, the earth, the soil, it is stirred up, it is shaken, it is moved about. And as a result, what happens? Dust, it rises upwards. And asaru, they plowed, they tilled, they broke up, they cultivated the land. Why did they plow the land? Why did they plow the soil, the earth? Why? Why would a person do that? For the purpose of agriculture, farming, right? And also for the purpose of building great structures. Because in order to build a tall, huge structure, what do you need? The foundations to be very deep. So وَأَثَارُوا الْأَرْضَ. They plowed the earth. They stimulated the earth. They tore through the earth. Why? For their fields, for their farming, for their agriculture, and also to dig out minerals, to dig out resources. The amount of gold they had, the amount of silver they had, precious metals, pearls, all of this, how did they get? By digging the earth, by going deep into the earth. And they carved out their houses. They built great buildings. وَعَمَرُوهَا, and they also populated it. Populated what? The land that they used to live in. Amaru, Ain Mim Ra. And what does that literally mean? To inhabit a land, to populate a land. And how is a land populated? Think about it. How is a place populated? Is it just with people? Buildings. What else? Business, farming, commerce, stores. Because it's possible that people are living in a particular place. But if there's no business, then what's going to happen? Eventually, very soon, that population is going to reduce. People are going to move away. Which is why many times populations in a particular place, how do they begin? Around a business, around a factory, around, let's say, a coal mine, right? By a port, by a river. Why? Because over there, there's business, there's work, there's employment opportunities, and as a result, people come there from far off places, and that's where they live. They don't go anywhere else. So Amaruha, they populated it not just with their numbers, but with their produce, with their trade, with their industry. And Amaruha, how else that they lived longer lives, they lived better lives, they had less illnesses. عَمَرُوهَا أَكْثَرَ مِمَّا عَمَرُوهَا, more than what these people have populated their lands with. Currently, people have populated their lands. But in the past, they had populated them even more. But what happened to them? وَجَاءَتْهُمْ رُسُلُهُمْ بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ, and their messengers came to them with clear proofs. But what happened? They rejected. They disbelieved. And soon the punishment of Allah descended on them. فَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيَظْلِمَهُمْ. So Allah, He did not wrong them. وَلَكِنْ كَانُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ يَظْلِمُونَ. But they themselves, they did zulm. They did zulm on themselves. They brought this punishment on themselves. Zulm is basically done in two ways. First of all, through naqs, through taqseer. What does that mean? To not give the haqq of someone. Something that you owe the other person. Something that you're supposed to give to them. What does zulm mean? What is zulm? The right that they deserve, you don't give it to them. So how is zulm done? First of all, by naqs, by taqseer, by causing loss. And secondly, zulm is done by excessiveness. How? That a person crosses the limits. He does what he should not be doing. And that is what? Injustice. So Allah did not do zulm on them, that He deprived them of their right, or He crossed the limit in dealing with them. No. He did not punish them while they were not guilty. وَلَكِنْ كَانُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ يَظْلِمُونَ. They were doing zulm on themselves. How? By their takdeeb, by their denial, by their refusing to obey the messengers, by their negligence, complete heedlessness towards the akhirah. وَلَكِنْ كَانُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ يَظْلِمُونَ. So over here basically, the people of Makkah primarily, they're being addressed. That if you do not believe, then look at the people of the past. They were much stronger than you. Much stronger. Much more powerful. Much more successful in worldly terms. But their worldly success brought them nothing when they disobeyed Allah. And in this is a great lesson. That if a person, his goal becomes worldly success only, that he gets lost in the zahir of this dunya only, then is that enough? Can that save him? Can that make him successful? Not at all. If a person knows a lot about this dunya, has a lot of ilm, many degrees, a great career, but that alone is not sufficient. That's incomplete. What brings a person true success is when his knowledge is completed with the knowledge of the deen, knowledge of the akhirah, preparation for the akhirah. That is what brings success to a person. We learn in Surah Ghafir a very similar thing in ayah number 82. That أَفَلَمْ يَسِيرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ فَيَنْظُرُوا كَيْفَ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ كَانُوا أَكْثَرَ مِنْهُمْ. That these people, have they not traveled through the land and observed how was the end of those people before them? They were more numerous than them. When it comes to numbers, when it comes to population, the people of the past much more than you. وَأَشَدَّ قُوَّةً وَآثَارًا فِي الْأَرْضِ. And they were greater in strength and in impression on the land. When it comes to physical might, they were much more mighty than you. When it comes to leaving impressions on the land, they left greater impressions behind. Which is why some of them still exist till today. فَمَا أَغْنَى عَنْهُمْ مَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ. But they were not availed by what they used to earn. Whatever they earned, it did not benefit them. It did not avail them at all. So what does this teach us? What does this teach us? That in order to be successful, zahir knowledge of this dunya alone is not sufficient. What you need is haqiqi ilm. ثُمَّ كَانَ. Then it was. What was? عَاقِبَةَ الَّذِينَ. The consequence of those people who, which people? أَسَاءُ السُّوءَ. Those people who did evil. And كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِ اللَّهِ. Because they denied the signs of Allah. وَكَانُوا بِهَا يَسْتَهْزِئُونَ. And they used to ridicule them. Summa. Then. What does this summa mean? That then the previous people who denied their messengers, what happened to them? كَانَ عَاقِبَةَ الَّذِينَ أَسَاءُ السُّوءَ. The end of these people. What was their end? السُّوءَ, the worst. عَاقِبَةَ, consequence of who? الَّذِينَ أَسَاءُوا. Of those people who did evil. What was the consequence? What was the عاقبة? السُّوءَ, the worst, the most evil. Asa'u from the root letters. What's the root? Sin, waw, hamza. And asa'u, this is actually af'alu, af'ala, yuf'ilu. And isa'ah is the masdar. Isa'ah. If'al, but at the end you have a ta marbuta. Isa'ah. And what does isa'ah mean? To commit evil. To commit foul deeds. To commit evil deeds. So those people who did evil, الَّذِينَ أَسَاءُوا, what was their aqibah? As-su'a. You understand? As-su'a is what? It's the consequence. It's the aqibah. And what does as-su'a mean? This word is a feminine of aswa. It's the feminine of aswa, af'al. So aswa, masculine, and as-su'a, feminine. What's the structure? Af'al, aswa. And what's the feminine of af'al? Af'alu tafdeel? Fu'la. Just as you have ahsan, and what's the feminine of that? Akbar, kubra, asghar, sughra. So similarly, aswa, su'a. So af'al, fu'la. And why is it feminine over here? Why is it su'a and not aswa? Why? What is it describing? Aqibah. And aqibah is what? Feminine. So ثُمَّ كَانَ عَاقِبَةَ الَّذِينَ أَسَاءُوا السُّوءَ. The consequence of those people who did evil, what was their consequence? It was as-su'a. It was the worst consequence. Because remember, af'al, this is af'alu tafdeel. Extremely evil. Extremely bad. And why did they meet this consequence? Because أَنْكَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِ اللَّهِ. Because they denied the ayat of Allah. وَكَانُوا بِهَا يَسْتَهْزِئُونَ. And they used to mock at it. What does this ayah teach us? What does this ayah teach us? What's the lesson in this ayah for us? That if a person does evil, then what will he find? Evil. He will not find good. So the consequence for those who committed evil in the past was what? Evil. And similarly, if a person commits evil today, then what consequence will he get? Evil. The example of the previous people is mentioned, that look at them. Look at how successful they were in worldly terms. But what happened at the end? Finished. Evil consequence. Why? Evil actions. Forget about their dunya. When it came to their deen, evil actions, this is why they met an evil end. Now this happened to who? To the people of the past. If today someone does evil, their end will also be evil. Their end will also be evil. Let's listen to the recitation. So this ayah, ثُمَّ كَانَ عَاقِبَةُ الَّذِينَ أَسَاءُوا السُّوءَ أَنْ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِ اللَّهِ وَكَانُوا بِهَا يَسْتَهْزِئُونَ. This is the main lesson that we learn, which is being mentioned in the previous ayah. That in the previous ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, haven't you traveled in the land? Haven't you seen? Haven't you looked at the people of the past, how they used to live, what they accomplished, what they did? What was their end? They were finished. And why were they finished? Because this was the consequence of who? Of those people who did evil. So if today also somebody does the same, they will meet the same end. Let's listen to the recitation.